Now, being able to afford sanitary protection should be a basic right for every woman, yet for some, having a period brings with it financial stress. It's estimated 1 in 10 girls have been unable to afford sanitary products. Almost 140,000 girls miss school every year because of it. New research reveals that period poverty can have a significant effect on education, success, confidence and happiness in later life. It can negatively affect romantic relationships too. 6 in 10 of those who'd gone without sanitary products say they were bullied at school. Of those, 39% suffered anxiety or depression. Alicia Dixon, who's a paid ambassador for Always, is fronting a new campaign. She spoke to Chloe Tilley about the issue alongside Stevie Jo Passing, who believes not being able to get hold of sanitary products is partly to blame for her homelessness, and Amanda King, a teacher who deals with the problem amongst her pupils. Chloe started by asking Stevie Jo how she manages her period whilst living on the streets.
Well, you just have to deal with them because it's natural, but it is very, very hard on living homeless and having periods, not having the money to get what you need when you're having your periods.
So what do you do? Do you rely on people donating sanitary products to you, or do you have to use money that you'd obviously rather be using on food and shelter?
No, definitely not. You have to rely on yourself. If it's winter, you use your socks, gloves, hat, anything, tissue. If it's the summer, socks, anything. You don't rely on anyone else because you can't, really.
What does that do to you?
Well, it's degrading, but you just have to do it. It has to be done, you know?
Stevie, I want to bring in Alicia. I want to also bring in Amanda. So, Alicia, just explain why you got involved in this and why you're so passionate about this. Is it something from your background? Just explain.
I mean, when Always approached me with the statistics that 137,000 girls were regularly missing school, that struck a chord with me. I was deeply shocked. I couldn't believe it was happening in the UK. The idea that girls are lacking in self-esteem and confidence and missing out on an education because their basic needs aren't being met, that just rang a bell with me. And I just thought, this seems like a huge issue with a simple solution. And it just felt right to have the conversation and speak openly about it, because periods is not the most glamorous thing to talk about, but it's the most normal thing that happens to half the population. So let's have the conversation, let's get rid of all the stigmas and the taboos, and let's normalise this conversation so girls can feel more confident to step forward and ask for help.
Amanda, I know that you work in a school and you work in a special needs unit, but this isn't just an issue for the young girls in the special needs unit. This is across your school. Just explain what that's like.
Well, I think if there's an issue with not being able to afford sanitary products, that's one thing, but it's also a lot to do with the stigma of having periods and how we view it in society and how we talk about it in society.
Yeah.
We cover up, even our ads, we cover up, we use blue ink. It's just not out there in the open. So girls are growing up with already, you know, feeling stigmatised by having periods anyway. So if there's any issue, they don't feel open enough to be able to come and talk about it.
Which is crazy.
Absolutely, because it's half the population that we all live with it.
Yeah.
Give us some examples of what the stories that you hear within your school.
So girls will take time off school if they can't access or if they can't get hold of the sanitary wear that they need, because they're just too embarrassed to come to school and have to deal with it, and they don't always know who to talk to. We'll try and make things available to them, but they're actually embarrassed to come and ask, or
it's such an awkward phase of your life, isn't it, when you're a teenager and everything embarrasses you. It's the most natural thing, and I think we need to lift the lid off this conversation. No, it's not the most glamorous subject, but we need to normalise the conversation so children feel more comfortable, like you said, to approach a teacher, to go to somebody and ask for help.
If we don't have periods, we don't have children.
Well,
the world ends. I mean, it's kind of that simple,
exactly.
isn't it? Stevie Jo, for you, when you were at school, did you miss school ever because of the fact you couldn't afford sanitary protection?
Oh yeah, definitely. And it wasn't just that. I didn't want my mum getting in trouble as well if she couldn't afford them, and then I didn't want her to just get in trouble, you know. And I feel ashamed as well, because to make her feel like she's a bad mum, because she wasn't. She tried her hardest, but sometimes you just can't afford them things, so you just have to deal with it yourself. Skipping school and stuff like that was a big factor, yeah.
And what effect did skipping school, literally because of you know, period poverty. What effect did that have, would you say, on your life going forward?
It was horrible. It's leaded me up to being homeless now. Got into the bad crowd and just thought that was normal, and just doing naughty things because you can't do the normal things, can you? Because you're just poor.
Not fair.
Stevie, when you are out on the streets with other women, is this something that you all discuss amongst each other and try and help each other with?
Yeah, we all back each other up. We're all asking each other if we need this, if you need that. And yeah, it's just every day.
Can you go to the doctor? Can you go to a drop-in clinic?
That's what I was just
It's not that easy for us because we live on the streets.
So what would happen if you were to walk into one of those facilities?
You need an address to get doctors.
So there's nowhere that you can just drop in and say, I need some sanitary pads, I need some tampons, can you give them to me today, can you help me?
Well, no, not if you want, like, maybe you could go there, yeah, but you don't know if they're going to look at you funny or look at you, you know. And not a lot of us have got confidence, and a lot of people on the streets have got mental health issues as well. So it's just a big, like, it's just everything.
So Alicia, Amanda, what do we need to do on a practical level? Yes, we need to talk about it. We need to have these conversations. But I know there are charities out there that leave boxes around, don't they? People can help themselves, but that's a small scale operation, isn't it?
I mean, there are lots of organisations doing lots of things. Yes, the government have a part to play. I mean, Always are doing brilliant things by donating, you know, millions of pads. But I think in the longer term plan, we need to think, you know, you can go to a food bank, you can get free condoms, you know, for people that are in need. Why? And this woman should not be going through this. It's just not acceptable on any level in our country, I think.
We need to take away the shame and
Absolutely.
the stigma, and we just need to be able to talk about it openly so that
But
if
talking
you do,
only achieves a certain amount, doesn't
That's
it?
right.
We need to act.
Absolutely,
You know.
Getting to the mums as well. It's not just getting to the children. It's talking to the mums and
Yes.
making the mums not feel ashamed of not being able to afford stuff for their kids that they need to get for their kids, you know?
So, if people are watching this today, and I'm sure everyone's watching this saying, what can I do? How can I help? This is so frustrating, our hands are tied. What would you say that people should do to help you, Stevie?
There has to be somewhere where they can go where they feel like they're not getting watched, they're not getting pried on, they can just go and they just want to go in and be able to chat, say, look, I'm struggling, can you help me? And not have to fill out a big essay, because a lot of us can't even read or write, you know? It's just...
Stevie, you can't see Alicia's face here in the studio, but I can, and I can see that you're just absolutely horrified at what we're hearing. Are you quite shocked to hear Stevie's story?
I am, and you know, it's basic human rights, you know, for your...
We haven't got human rights on the streets.
And that's the thing, she deserves human rights. You get to the root of this issue, it's all about self-esteem.
Amanda, what do you think we should be doing in every school in this country to stop, you know, Stevie says it started with period poverty and it spiralled, and that is why she's living on the streets now. What can we do to stop it?
in every toilet, in every school, there should be a box where girls can just go in and take what they need. They shouldn't have to go and ask anybody for it. They shouldn't have to knock on an office door of a nurse or anybody. They should just be able to access them if they need them. Simple.
And do we need to have more conversations with boys as well? Because
Yes,
the number
we
of
do.
times you hear that boys tease girls about having a period.
I went into a school a couple of weeks ago, and that was the one thing that the girls kept saying to me, oh, the boys, they take the mickey. We're afraid to carry our sanitary products in our bag because if the boys see them, that they'll laugh at us. And I thought, you know, you just turn around to that boy and you say, listen, mate, if it wasn't for a period, then you wouldn't be here.
And when you were growing up, did you know any girls that were affected by period poverty?
When I was growing up, it wasn't something that was openly spoken about. I think that a lot of, from what I now know looking back, I think a lot of people were suffering in silence. I think it's one of those situations where people were too embarrassed to say anything, so they just handled it by themselves or didn't come to school. And that breaks my heart to think that girls would have been going through that and nobody knew. And this is why it's important to talk about it, because I think there will be people listening that are going through that might think, oh, that's happened to me. I now feel confident enough to speak out about this because it's not such a scary thing. To just ask for help for something so simple. I can't even believe we're having the conversation.
In 2018?
In 2018.
Stevie, what do you think the government should do? What would you like to hear from on high to make a difference to your life and other young girls' lives?
Just touching the homes, it's not even about the schools, it's just actually touching the homes, telling the parents that they're not doing anything wrong if they can't afford, you know, they're just not doing nothing wrong. They need somewhere where they can go and ask for help and not get looked at like they're being, you know, bad parents, because they're not bad parents at all. They're just struggling. And we all struggle now and again. I don't care who you are, you do struggle with everything.
Difficult choices to be made. Do you put food on the table? Do you
Yeah,
heat
exactly.
your home? Do you pay your rent? Or
do you send them to college? Do you send them to university? Do you do this, do that? You know, it just starts at home, doesn't it, really?
Alicia, what would your message be to the government?
Oh my goodness. I mean, I think, like you said before, you know, we've got to start talking about this. I think, for me, it's quite a simple solution. It's not that complicated, like you said. Just make them readily available for those that need them. No ifs, no buts. There's no long drawn-out forms, or, you know, don't need to debate this, do we?
No,
we just need to, that's why I said, let's not talk, let's just act. Just make them available for those that need them. Basic hygiene needs to be taken care of. Life is stressful enough as it is without having to worry about your own personal hygiene. It's your human right to have this taken care of, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And I think that we need to act now.
Alicia, Amanda, thank you so much for coming in. And Stevie, thank you so much for talking to us, and do take care.
And you, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Bev on Facebook says this is unacceptable in the 21st century England, and every politician should be ashamed. This is on your heads. How dare you put anyone in this country into this position? Jackie on Twitter says, I think sanitary products should be free anyway. It's not as if you have a choice in getting periods. Pat on email, can someone explain how a product that costs as little as £1 from leading supermarkets is called poverty, less than a cup of coffee? How is it causing such an outcry? Something that concerns me is the statement we use that socks, hats, tissues are being used as an alternative. How are those soiled items disposed of? Am I missing something here, she asks. Roy on Twitter, the government spends £13 billion on foreign aid when girls in our own country cannot afford sanitary products. You couldn't make it up. And Charles on Twitter, this is one very backward country.